Now in Likutei Sichos Daled, on page 43. Please turn your pages to page 43. Excuse me, drinking. I didn't. Do you? I hope he has a safe. Bein HaSipurim, among the stories, Rebbe Bala Simcha Vagula, that the previous Rebbe, who today is his day of joy and redemption, Siper Odos HaMaser Vagula Shalo, about the imprisonment and the release. Yeshnu Keila, there's some stories. By the way, the Rebbe, there's a book which is called Likutei Diburim. These are, the previous Rebbe was a very excellent writer, and he was very descriptive also. So there's one place where he described his whole imprisonment by the communists, and the things that he experienced over there, and the terrible, how death was everywhere, and how they beat him up, and how they tortured him, and etc. And he explains all of it. It really doesn't explain all of it. He just explains some of the more, the less horrendous things that happened over there. So among the things he tells a story. One of the stories is Miyad shehovilu et the Rebbe lebeit hasoar. Immediately when they brought the Rebbe to prison, first of all they put him in prison, and then after that they sent him to exile. Kibel al atzmo hachlata eitana. He took on himself a resolution. Shelo yabed chas v'shalom et ishtanoto, that he would not ever lose his composure. V'shelo yitpa'el, and he would not be, affected. He would not be mushpa, he would not be influenced by him, by the GPO. The GPO, that was like the KGB, the secret police. What?
They have their own cells.
Cells? Yeah, everybody had their own cell. He tells about how he was, I don't know if he was in with somebody else. I don't think in the beginning he was, for sure not. And he said that he would sit in his cell, they put him in the cell, and he heard how the guards walking down the door, no. How the guards walking down the hall, and that they would open up a door, and they would call somebody out, and the person would start crying and screaming, and they would take him out into the courtyard, and the person would start begging and pleading, then they would shot, quiet. And then 10 minutes later, the guards walking down the hall, they call out a name, they open up, they call out a name, the person would start screaming. They went down the whole night. And there was another story that he was once in
What did he do about food then?
what did he do? I don't know if he ate.
No, he must have. Water.
He was water for sure he drank. Water for sure he drank. What did he do? I don't remember. I don't think it says. It says about the Alter Rebbe, it says the story. But what did he do for food? I don't know. Good question. For sure he didn't eat the food that they had there, or even the bread. Didn't eat. As far as I know. Didn't eat the bread. Because there was a lot of Chassidic Chabad even that didn't eat. They died. No, water for sure he drank. No doubt about it, sure. Miyad shehovilu at the Rebbe, as soon as he came and he made a firm resolution that he would not be influenced in any way by them. Lo zu bilvad, not only that, shelo yitchashev behem, b'devorim liyirat shamayim, not only as far as Judaism was concerned, but ela shelo yitchashev behem k'metziut kolol. He would not treat them as a existence. Wouldn't pay any attention. They would talk to him, he wouldn't pay any attention. Ad shiachshiv otam keilu hayu, like ka'ayin ve'efes mamish, like they were nothing. And he treated it as though he was just sitting in his office or something. All the death and the he tells one story over there that when he was being brought back from one of his interrogations, So the man that was bringing him back told the Rebbe, he said, yesterday night there was a person like you, a religious person, a priest. He said, and I was assigned to watch him until he died. He said, so I guess they beat him up in the interrogation. And he said, and I just sat there and watched him. He said, I had such pleasure. He said, just watching this man die. He said, I got a cup of tea and I sat there until finally I just got bored and I gave him a couple kicks until he died. And he said, such a low type of a person, that the Rebbe was just telling relating the story of what type of people he was ignoring. Because they weren't having an effect on him at all. It's like watching a movie or something. Matzav nafshi ze lo ishtana. The decision that he made and his attitude did not change. Gam la'achar shenenesh al siruvo la'anot al shalot. Even after he was beaten up, because he refused to answer questions. They would ask him questions, and he wouldn't answer. So they beat him up. He said, even after, now you have to remember that the Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, he was a Rebbe. He wasn't an Olympian sports person. He didn't, work out. He was a very gentle, and a very delicate person. Even though that, what?
How old is he?
At that time, let's see, this is 27, right? Let me see. So he was like 40 something. Let's see. He passed away in 1950. In 1950, he was 70 years old, which means that he was born in 1880, and he was put into prison in 27. So he was 47 years old. Ha'onesh haya, now he was already Rebbe. He'd already been Rebbe for 7 years. So he became Rebbe when he was 40 years old. His father passed away in 1920.
What year did he go to America?
What?
What year did he go to America?
He came to America in 1940. What? He went to America in 1929, and he was there for like about a year or so. And then afterwards, and he was in Chicago for a while. And there's Maimorim that he said when he was there. And then after that, he went back to, first of all, he went to Israel. He went to Israel for a couple of weeks because he said that he wanted to pray at the graves of the tzaddikim. He couldn't pray at the graves of the previous Rebbes because they wouldn't let him back into Russia. And he would always go to pray at the graves. So he came to Israel to pray at the graves.
How did he get out of Russia?
They kicked him out. They evicted him. They evicted him from Russia. He wanted to leave anyway, but they eventually evicted him. But the problem is he couldn't go out of Russia because he didn't have a passport, and he also didn't have a job anywhere. So there was an amazing Chassid that I would like to learn more about him, but I haven't found any way to do it, called Mordechai Dubin. And this Mordechai Dubin, he was a high minister in the government of Latvia, and he arranged for him the position to be the chief rabbi of Latvia or something like that, or the chief rabbi of Riga. Huh?
Where's Latvia in Europe?
Yeah, it's like near Finland and those places, also near Poland, all those places.
You gotta find the logic funny. It's like, I want to leave the country. No, you're staying in this country. Like literally 3 days later, you're getting kicked out of the country.
No, it wasn't that simple. Getting kicked out of jail, he got kicked out. The jail, they evicted him, and he even refused to leave because he would have to travel on Shabbos. He refused. So they really freed him on Rosh Chodesh Tammuz, but he refused to leave. So he actually got out on the third day of Tammuz. That's what we celebrate.
I don't understand. Why would he get kicked out of jail? Jail's not the place to get kicked out of. Jail's
They
the
found
place
him.
where
They found him that he was innocent. Let's say they found him innocent. Okay, the fact is there was world pressure. There was great world pressure, and they said you have this great man that he's being president. And Stalin was very worried about world opinion. He didn't want anyone to know what was going on in Stalin.
bailed out because you don't get kicked out of jail.
So he was evicted from jail. They put him out of jail. They told him he had to leave, and he refused. He refused to leave. And then after that, it was the same thing in Russia. When he was in Russia, I said it in the morning, the Jews that put him in jail, they tried to get him arrested and put him back in. They were very, very disappointed that they didn't kill the Rebbe. And they were more disappointed that they let him go. So they were always after him. They were always on him. So the Rebbe had to try to get out as fast as he could. But then finally, they gave him permission to leave, he said, "I'm not leaving without all my books." All my books. And he forced them. They said, "Well, we'll have to check through."
Was he allowed to swear while he was in jail?
No. When he was in jail, even to fill in, they didn't want to let him. They beat him up in the end. Because
It could also be used as a weapon.
nah, they can't do it. To them, it's no.
No, you're not supposed to, but you can.
He couldn't. There's no way that he could oppose these people. They were, first of all, each one of them was healthy, big, strong, and they were murderers. He wasn't trained in some sort of, this is not in the movies. You're seeing somebody makes the great escape or something. Okay, here we go. Matzav nafshi. So what did the Rebbe have? What was the Rebbe's weapon? His attitude. His attitude was his weapon. And they've never seen such an attitude like this before in prison. They certainly didn't have it. All of the ones that were captors that were this, if they were put into a situation like the Rebbe, they would have been, changed their minds and their alliances and their loyalty in a second to save their lives.
Did he have a court case?
He was taken in and sentenced to death. There wasn't a court case. No. He was taken in, he was sentenced to death. As far as I know, there wasn't. And then they brought him back into an interrogation, and he saw on the table that it was written death, and then it was written yet, and then it was written 10 years in Kastrama, and it was said not, and then it said 3 years in Kastrama. So what did the Rebbe do? The Rebbe, as soon as he came in, he said, these people really have no existence, therefore I'm not going to pay any attention to them. They really don't exist. Evil has no true existence. When he refused to answer questions, he refused to participate totally, so they beat him up, and then they put him into solitary confinement. That was up to his knees or whatever in excrement or mud.
Would it have been cold this time?
You see the weather now. You go to Russia, it's cold.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This
No. This time of the year, it's not as cold.
All right.
You had a good point. In the time when the first Rebbe was put in Yutetz Kislev, then it's cold.
All right.
But now it's already in the summertime. You're right. You're good. Lo haya alma lisha, and they put him in this place, and he couldn't lean over, and of course he was tremendously tired. They put him in Nosef Lakach, Rachashu Akbarim v'Ramashim betocha refesh ad hakotalim alakotalim. There were all sorts of creepers and rats that were running through this mud and on the walls. So he couldn't really lean over on the walls. That was their punishment. They held him in this place for near 2 days. For 2 days. I don't think he slept. Because he would have to... Avogam la'achar mikain, afterwards, adayin notro etzelo hachlatat kifa. Even after they let him out, he did not change his attitude. He said, I'm not paying any attention to them. Shalo yitchashev bahem, he did not pay any attention to them. Him ka'ayin ve'efes, he treated them like they were zero, like nothing. B'ta'am ma'aser bo Yeshiva Rebbe, in the cell that the Rebbe was in, lo yachlu lahavchin ben yom v'layla. You couldn't tell if it was day and night. It was in a prison. Mishum shebetah zeh lo haya elo eshna v'cha. There was only one window. Mitachat latikra. There was one window way up high under this. V'gam eshnav zeh haya mustar. It was concealed by means of a kier. Shemimul shelo efshar laor hayom lachdor b'hem. There was a long hall. And there was his room. There was a little window way on the top next to the ceiling. The ceiling was very low next to the ceiling. But even through that, you couldn't see if it was day or night because there was a wall that... Shelo ifshar liyom yom rak lifi hasdorim akavuim bebeit hasoar ashaut hakavud bo hayom mevim mayim chamim b'kiyotzi b'd. Oh, it said the time when they were bringing hot water and etc. Yada Rebbe, he knew what time of the day it was. In other words, he knew every day at 9 they would bring water, at 12 they would bring water, at this they would bring water. The fact is, people can live just eating water for a long time. There's people that live for a long time just eating water. No. People can go for a long time. People fasted even 30 days. You can fast. There's people
Don't fuck.
without food. Yeah, I know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The Yom Chamishi, at the Yom Chamishi, there were people just now. There was a big earthquake in Turkey, and they found some girl that was under the rubble for like 2-3 weeks. She hadn't eaten anything, but there was water that was dripping from a pipe or something, or condensation, and that's what she lived on. But she was still alive. Okay, the Yom Chamishi on Thursday, Rosh Chodesh Tammuz, B'sha Achad Esrei Lifnei Tzarayim, 11 o'clock in the afternoon. The Rebbe said that usually he would pray b'masa barichos. When he was in prison, he would pray at long length. I don't remember if they gave him his tefillin or not, because they promised him that they would. When he came in, they promised him that they would give him the tefillin, and he said he refused to eat or something. He wouldn't go to anything until Nichnasu Shotrim Lechedro. Soldiers came into his room. Now the Gimel Tammuz was the day that he was announced that they were freeing him. No, I'm Rosh Chodesh. This is Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. This is the day that they announced that he was free. V'tziva oto lakum. They said, stand up. Hashotrim dibru rusit. They said, stand up. I don't know how you say stand up in Rusit, but that's what they said. Avol darko shel Rebbe hayata shahaya noeg la'anot la'am b'Yiddish. If the Rebbe answered them at all, he would answer only in Yiddish. And the Rebbe said, ich will nicht. I'm not going to stand up. Hanoeg b'beit hasohar, the custom, the procedure in the jail was shebe'et mesirut yadia lasir, that when a prisoner received a announcement, Allah the kabel b'amida, he had to stand up. He had to stand up and receive it. Kedei lohochiach lasir shu naton tachat marutom. In other words, he had to give them attention to show that they're the boss and he's not. He has to stand up. Lefichach sirov Rebbe, the Rebbe said he's not going to stand up. Not going to stand up. Kanira she'echad hashotrim o Yehudi. One of the Jews, one of the policemen was a Jew. Sheivchin tshuva b'Yiddish, and he understood what the Rebbe said in Yiddish. The others were goyim; they didn't understand. Al tshuvas a Rebbe, he said berusit, im lo tatzayat, if you don't listen to us, nakeh otcha, we're going to we'll beat you up. I'll punch you. He said in Russian. The Rebbe understood Russian. The Rebbe said, no, you want to beat me up? Beat me up. I'm not going to come. I'm not going to stand up. I'm not going to be afraid of you. I'm not going to do anything. Hashotrim achen asu kedavrim v'yetzu mechirad. The soldiers hit him. They beat him up, and they left the room. Lachar mikan, afterwards, then afterwards there came another group of, and among them was Lulav. Now Lulav was one of the original Jews that put the Rebbe into prison. Echad me'elu shenatlu chilik b'masa Rebbe. They were among those that came into the Rebbe's house and arrested him. B'havato l'beit hasohar, and also in his interrogation. Lulav was from Chabad.
Was this his actual name? Or just...
I think maybe the name of the family was Lulav. V'edavarav el Rebbe, he said, Rebbe, why don't you stand? Lama ata ma'at mididam. Rebbe, why are you making trouble for them? He said to them, Madu atem menatzchim itam. Why are you trying to defeat them? Why do you who are you making war against? Right? These people can kill you in a second. It's a miracle you're not dead already. Hariboim letzavot ala kala lachem. They're coming. He said in Yiddish, they're coming to make it easier on you. Please don't do that, because it just shakes the whole thing. They're coming to make it easier. See where we are? We're on page 64. See? Next page. 64.
64?
Yep.
So are we 20 pages?
Huh?
44.
Oh, I'm sorry. My eyes don't. 44. Sorry. Why are you making trouble for them? They're coming to announce good news. When they tell you to stand, you should stand. The Rebbe lo higiv. The Rebbe did not answer them at all. Omar Shu Lulav, the Lulav said, Hey Mari Yakut, they're going to beat you up. V'gam apam lo higiv, the Rebbe didn't answer. Hiku oto pam nosefes. They hit the Rebbe again. Echad mehem hika et the Rebbe tachat hasentar. One of them hit the Rebbe under the chin. At the ka'ivim mimeno, that the pain from this, hirgisha Rebbe's man rav achakach, felt a long time afterwards, and they left. Okay, now what type of conduct is this? What is the Rebbe? What is he doing? I mean, let's be. I mean, the Rebbe's daughter married the present Rebbe, married the last Rebbe 2 years later, about 2 years later. Right? 1.5 years later. They got married later. So in other words, there was really no official replacement for the previous Rebbe.
Where was he at this time?
Huh?
Where was he at this time?
Where was?
The Rebbe.
The Rebbe was there in Russia. He was working to get the Rebbe freed. When the Rebbe left Russia, when the previous Rebbe left Russia, he gave a long list of people that he wanted to go with him. And one of the people was the Rebbe Shlita, that he should go with him. So they said, what is he? He's not, I mean, he's your son, your daughter. He says, he's going to marry my daughter. So they said, well, you can find another chassan outside of his, we don't just let people out of Russia. He said, no, a chassan like that, you can't find anywhere in the world. So I'm taking him with me. But the Rebbe was in, and he was doing a lot to get the Rebbe freed, but the Rebbe never spoke about it. They wanted the Rebbe to speak about it, but the Rebbe refused to speak about what he did in order to get the previous Rebbe freed. There was this Professor Green, he was working for NASA. So he went into the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, what level of security are you? The Rebbe also worked for the American government in shipbuilding. The Rebbe, when the first Rebbe first came to America, he was an electrical engineer for ships. The Rebbe had a degree in shipbuilding. So the Rebbe, that's how the Rebbe made his living. When he came to Russia, he refused to work on Shabbos, and on Sunday he would be the only person in the whole entire place working. They gave him clearance to work, and the Rebbe asked Professor Green, what level of clearance security do you have? And he said, what level? The Rebbe said, I'm a deeper level of security than you are. In other words, the Rebbe knew how to keep secrets. The Rebbe had millions of secrets that nobody knew about, people. And the Rebbe remembered everything. The Rebbe knew everything, and he knew things before they happened. And it's just... In any case, that's one of the things the Rebbe was doing. In Russia, he was working to get the previous Rebbe out. But it was very, very delicate, because if you said the wrong thing to the wrong person or did the wrong thing, then they could just wipe out everybody. They had no compunction about just taking everybody in prison and just killing everyone. They could do it. There was no problem. Anytime they found anybody, like they say, one of my teachers, Rabbi Naparstik, he says that's one of the reasons why Russia is so backward even now. He said because a lot of the Russians are genius people, but in the whole time of Stalin ruled for 70 years. That whole time, no, sorry, what am I talking about? Stalin ruled for 30 years, but communism was 70 years. And that whole time, 1/3 of the people were spies. Everyone was spying on everybody else. So people were afraid, and people were all occupied. Instead of occupied in making the world a better place, they were occupied in just holding communism. Anyway, they beat the Rebbe, and they left. Now, why did the Rebbe do this? If something would have happened to the Rebbe, all of Chabad, nobody would hold it together. Who would have taken it over? And Chabad is not just a movement. You just have to have a good leader, somebody who has a good sense of leadership. Putin, Trump, somebody that can remember names and knows how to put people in proper places, and an amazing politician, and Chabad is pure self-sacrifice, telling everyone to do things they don't want to do. Convincing all the Chassidim to do things that they don't want to do, to go against like Moses did with the Jewish people. Who can do a thing like that? Who's going to listen? If I stand up and tell the Chassidim, you have to do this, they'll say, you do it. Right? I'm going to do what you want. Make a Chabad house over there. Make a